The message came through at 300 hours. Ship time. Captain Han Dijin was already awake, as he often was during the long nights in space. The coffee in his hand had gone cold while he reviewed supply reports, when the communication officer's voice crackled through his cabin speaker. Something in the tone made him set down the cup carefully. "Captain, you need to hear this." Han reached the bridge in less than 2 minutes. The crew on night shift looked up as he entered, their faces tight with concern. On the main screen, an alien face filled the display. The creature looked like an insect with large eyes that gleamed with moisture. Its mandibles trembled as it spoke. "Please," the alien said in broken galactic standard, "anyone who can hear this. We are the Velen people. We are dying. The Kraith have come to our world. They take our children. They burn our cities. The Galactic Council does nothing. Please, if anyone can help us, please come." The message ended. The bridge fell silent. Han stood very still. "How long ago was this sent?" 3 days, sir, the communications officer replied. "It was broadcast on every frequency. Wide beam, maximum power. Has anyone responded?" "No, sir." The Galactic Council acknowledged receipt but took no action. They're still debating. Han felt something cold settle in his chest. He'd been in space for 15 years, ever since Earth had made first contact with the galactic community. He had learned quickly that most alien species were nothing like humans. They were peaceful, cautious, and terrified of conflict. Their worlds were gentle places with light gravity and calm weather. They had forgotten how to fight because they had never needed to. Remember, Earth was different. Earth was a world that tried to kill you every day. Earthquakes, hurricanes, volcanoes, and gravity that crushed bones if you were not strong enough. Humans had evolved to survive all of it. That made them dangerous by galactic standards. It also made them capable of things other species could not imagine. "Get me everything we have on the Velen system," Han said quietly, "and wake the senior staff. I want them in the briefing room in 20 minutes. The briefing room was small and functional, like everything else on the UES Indomitable. Lieutenant Yuna Kim arrived first, her hair still wet from a quick shower. She took one look at Han's face and sat down without speaking. Sergeant Tiwoo Sung came next, moving with the easy confidence of a man who had seen combat. Dr. Hana Choi and Engineer Bin Park followed moments later. Han played the message for them. He watched their faces as they listened. Yuna's jaw tightened, T's hands curled into fists. Hana looked away, blinking hard. Bin just stared at the screen with an expression Han could not read. When it ended, no one spoke for a long moment. "The Galactic Council won't help them," Han said. "They're afraid of the Kreth Dominion. The Kreth are raiders, slavers. They're also one of the few species that comes from a high-gravity world, not as high as Earth but higher than most. That makes them dangerous by galactic standards." "How far away is the Velen system?" Yuna asked. Her voice was calm, but her eyes were not. 4 days at maximum FTL, Bin replied. He had already pulled up the star charts on his data pad. "We'd have to go through 2 neutral zones and skirt the edge of Kreth space." "They'll see us coming," T said. "Yes," Han agreed. "They will." Silence again. Han looked at each of them in turn. These people were his crew, but more than that, they were his family. The Indomitable was not a warship. It was an explorer, a science vessel. They had signed up to map stars and make contact with new species, not to fight wars. I can't order you to do this, Han said. Quietly, what I'm thinking about doing could get us all killed. It will definitely get us in trouble with Earth Command, but I can't stop thinking about those people. Someone asked for help and everyone is too afraid to answer. I'm in, Tay said immediately. I didn't join the service to sit around while innocent people die. The medical supplies alone could save thousands. Hannah added, her voice soft but firm. Even if we can't stop the Wraith, we could at least help the wounded. Yuna was already working on her data pad, calculating vectors and combat scenarios. If we're doing this, we need to be smart about it. The Wraith won't expect us. We can use that. Bin nodded. Slowly, I can make some modifications to the engines. Push them past safety limits. We're going to need every advantage we can get. Han felt something loosen in his chest. He had known they would say yes. He had known because he knew them, knew what kind of people chose to leave Earth and venture into the unknown. They were the kind who ran toward danger when others ran away. All right then, he said. We leave in 6 hours. Get your departments ready. This is going to be rough. The next 6 hours passed in a blur of activity. The crew worked with focused efficiency, preparing the ship for combat it was never designed for. Tay drilled his small marine contingent, running them through close quarters combat scenarios. Yuna reprogrammed the targeting computers and plotted jump coordinates. Hannah organized the medical bay and prepared for mass casualties. Bin worked miracles in the engine room, coaxing more power from systems that were already running at their limits. Han sent a message to Earth Command, marked for delayed transmission. By the time they received it, the Indomitable would already be at the Velen system. He explained his decision and took full responsibility. If this went wrong, he did not want his crew to suffer for his choice. As the ship prepared to jump to FTL, Han stood on the bridge and looked at the somewhere out there people were dying, while others did nothing. The Galactic Council called humanity dangerous, called Earth a death world that produced monsters. Maybe they were right. Maybe humans were monsters by their gentle standards, but Han had learned long ago that sometimes the galaxy needed monsters. Sometimes the only thing that could stop a predator was something even more dangerous. All systems ready, Captain, Yuna reported. Han took a deep breath. Take us to FTL. Destination in the Velen system. The Indomitable leaped forward and the stars blurred into lines of light. They were going to war, and the galaxy had no idea what was coming. The Velen system looked like a graveyard when the Indomitable dropped out of FTL. Han stood on the bridge and watched through the view screen as the scene unfolded before them. 3 massive Kreth battlecruisers hung in orbit around the planet like metal vultures. Smaller ships darted between them, carrying cargo that Han knew must be prisoners. In the distance, an orbital station burned, venting atmosphere in frozen streams that glittered in the system's pale sun. Scanning for survivors, Yuna said quietly from her station. Her fingers moved across the console with practice speed. I'm reading life signs on the planet's moon. Looks like a refugee camp, maybe 10,000 Velens the Kreth, Han asked. 3. Battle cruisers as we saw, 23 frigates. They have a fortified base on the planet's largest continent. Una paused, and when she spoke again, her voice was tight. Captain, the prison ships. They're loaded. They must have taken at least 200,000 people already. Han felt his hands curl into fists. He forced them to relax. Anger would not help now. He needed to think clearly. Take us to the moon, he ordered. Keep us in the planet's sensor shadow. I want to talk to the survivors before they Kreth know we're here. The Indomitable moved silently through space, sliding past debris fields and abandoned. The moon was small and airless, but sensors showed a pressurized dome on the surface. As they approached, Han could see how crude it was. The Velens had built it quickly, using whatever materials they could salvage. Hailing the dome, the communications officer said, "They're responding, but Captain, they sound scared. Put them through." The screen flickered and an alien face appeared. The Velen was elderly, its carapace dulled with age. When it saw Han, its eyes went wide with something that looked like fear. "Human," the Velen whispered. "You are human. From the Death World." Han kept his expression neutral and calm. He had learned early that his size frightened most aliens. At 6 ft tall, he was larger than most species in the galaxy. His bone density alone was enough to crush a Velen if he was not careful. "My name is Captain Han Dijin of the United Earth ship Indomitable. We received your distress call. We're here to help." The Velen stared at him for a long moment. The council said no one would come. They said it was too dangerous. They said humans were too violent to trust. "Well," Han said gently, "we're here anyway." The old Velen's mandibles trembled. "I am Elder Thasik. We are grateful. But there are so few of you. The Kraith have armies. They have ships that can destroy planets. What can one human vessel do?" Han smiled, and it was not a nice smile. "You'd be surprised." An hour later, Han stood in the refugee dome with his senior staff. The ceiling was low, forcing them to stoop. The gravity was less than half of Earth normal, making them feel light and unstable. Around them, Velen survivors watched with wide, frightened eyes. They pressed against the walls as far from the humans as they could get. Dr. Hana Choi moved slowly through the crowd, her medical scanner in hand. She kept her voice soft and her movements careful. When she approached a Velen child, clutching a wounded arm, she knelt down to be at eye level. "Can I help?" she asked in simple galactic standard. The child looked at its parent, who nodded nervously. Hannah examined the arm with gentle hands. The wound was infected badly. With the right treatment, it would heal. Without it, the child might lose the limb. "This will sting for just a moment," Hannah warned. She applied an antibiotic gel, working quickly and efficiently. The child whimpered but held still. When Hannah was done, she offered a small smile. "You're very brave." The child stared at her with enormous eyes. "You're very big," it said in a tiny voice. "Are you going to hurt us?" Hannah felt something crack in her chest. "No, little one, we're going to help you." Across the dome, Sergeant Tay was speaking with Elder Thasik, getting information about the Kraith positions. The old Velen gestured at a crude map projected from a salvaged data unit. "They took everyone who could work." Thasek explained. His voice shook with anger and grief. The young, the strong. They left only those of us too old or too weak to be useful. They said they would come back for us. Later. How many Kraith soldiers on the planet? Tay asked. Thousands. More. They wear powered armor that makes them strong. They carry weapons that can burn through steel. Tay nodded, processing the information. To the Velans, those numbers must seem impossible to a human marine who had trained in Earth's crushing gravity, who had evolved on a planet where nature itself was the enemy. The odds were just another challenge. What about their base? He asked. Defenses, energy shields, automated turrets. It is a fortress. Good to know. Thasek looked at him in confusion. Good? How is that good? Tay smiled grimly. Because now we know what we're up against. While his team gathered intelligence, Hannah stood at the dome's viewport, staring out at the planet below. Yuna joined him, her data pad clutched in her hands. I've analyzed their formation, she said without preamble. The Kreth are overconfident. They're not expecting any resistance. Their ships are powerful, but they're slow, built for intimidation, not maneuverability. What's your assessment? Yuna was quiet for a moment. Honestly, Captain, by galactic standards, this is impossible. 1 ship against 3 battle cruisers and 24 support vessels. No species in the galaxy would even try, but we're not like other species, Han said. No, Yuna agreed, we're not. Their crews can barely function in 1 gravity. Their ships can't make the acceleration we can without killing everyone on board. They've never fought an enemy from a high-gravity world, let alone a death world like Earth. She paused. I think we can do this, but it's going to be close. Behind them, Engineer Ben was working on a portable generator that powered the dome. A group of young Velans watched him with fascination as he made adjustments. One of them, braver than the others, crept closer. Why do you help us? The young Velan asked. The galaxy says humans are dangerous. That you come from a world of monsters. Ben glanced up from his work. He thought about his home, about Earth. He thought about the earthquakes that could level cities, the storms that could tear buildings apart, the very gravity that could kill you if you fell wrong. Yes, Earth was dangerous. It had humans into survivors, into fighters, but it had also made them into something else. Someone asked for help, Ben said. Simply, so we came. That's what people do. The Velan stared at him with an expression that might have been wonder. That evening, as the human crew prepared to return to their ship, a small figure approached. Dr. Hannah. It was the child she had treated earlier. The young Velan held something in its small hands, a crystal that glowed faintly in the dome's light. This was my mother's, the child said, before the Kreth took her. I want you to have it for helping me. Hannah knelt down again, feeling tears sting her eyes. I can't take this, it's too precious. Please, the child insisted. You're kind, not scary like. They said, will you find my mother? Hannah took the crystal carefully. We'll try, she promised. We'll try our very best. As they walked back to the Indomitable, Han contacted the ship. Prepare all systems for combat, he ordered, and send a message to the Kreth commander. I want to give them a chance to leave, sir. The communications officer sounded Surprised. It's only fair, Han said. They should know what's coming, the message was. Simple and direct, the Kreth commanders. Response came within minutes, broadcast. On all frequencies, his laughter echoed. Across the system. One human ship, the Kreth commander roared, "You dare threaten us? We have conquered 100 worlds. Your pathetic vessel is nothing. Come then, Deathworlder, come and die." Han listened to the mocking laughter and felt nothing but cold certainty that Kreth had no idea what they were dealing with. They thought humans were just another species, maybe a little tougher than most, but still bound by the same limitations. They were about to learn the truth. Earth did not make ordinary survivors. It made apex predators who had learned to channel their violence into something purposeful. The Kreth wanted a fight. They were going to get one. The Indomitable came at them like a hunting bird. The Kreth fleet detected the human ship as it broke from behind the moon, moving at speeds that should have been impossible for a vessel of its size. In the command center of the lead battle cruiser, the Kreth admiral watched his tactical display with amusement. "One ship," he growled to his officers. "They send one ship." What the admiral did not understand, what he could not understand was that the Indomitable had been built by humans. Its engines could push acceleration, forces that would kill most galactic species. Its hull could withstand impacts that would shatter normal vessels. And its crew, raised on a death world, could endure conditions that others considered torture. On the Indomitable's bridge, Captain Han Dijin gripped his command chair as the ship accelerated. The gravity compensators could only do so much. He felt the pressure pushing him back, felt his heart working harder to pump blood through his body. Around him, his crew worked their stations with steady hands. This was nothing compared to Earth's gravity. "Missile lock detected," Yuna reported. Calmly, 3 battle cruisers firing. 20 missiles inbound. "Evasive pattern Delta 7, Han ordered. Return fire when ready." The Indomitable twisted through space, ways the Kreth had never seen. The missiles designed to track slow-moving targets could not adjust fast enough. They detonated against empty void, their explosions lighting up the darkness. The human ship's rail gun spoke once, twice, 3 times. Solid projectiles moving at a fraction of light speed tore through space. The first hit a Kreth frigate amidships, punching through its armor like paper. The ship broke apart in a silent explosion. The second and third shots crippled 2 more vessels before they could react. "Direct hits," Yuna said with grim satisfaction. "Enemy formation breaking up. They're trying to surround us." "Let them try," Han said. "Ben, how are the engines?" In the engine room, Engineer Ben Park watched displays that showed temperature and stress levels climbing into the red. The modifications he had made were holding, but barely. The ship was being pushed beyond its design limits. "We're at 115% capacity," Ben reported. "I can give you maybe 10 more minutes at this level before we risk a core breach. That's all I need." The Kreth battlecruisers moved to intercept, their massive guns tracking the darting human vessel. They fired in volleys, filling space with plasma bolts and missiles. But the Indomitable moved like something alive, like it could sense danger before it arrived. Human reflexes honed by millions of years of evolution on a world where being slow meant death. gave them an edge the Kraith had never encountered. Coming around for another pass, Han said, "Target the command ship, all weapons." The Indomitable dove toward the Kraith flagship, its guns blazing. The battlecruiser's shields flared and held, but the sustained fire was overwhelming. Them cracks appeared in the energy barrier. The railgun fired again, and this time the shot went through. On the Kraith flagship, alarms screamed. The Admiral stared at his displays in disbelief. How was one ship doing this? How were these creatures from their little death world fighting like demons? All ships, concentrate fire on the human vessel, he ordered. I want it destroyed now. But even as 20 ships turned their weapons on the Indomitable, a new threat emerged. Sergeant Tiwu Sung felt the drop pod shudder as it detached from the Indomitable. Around him, 20 Marines in full combat armor prepared for deployment. The pod was cramped, designed for quick insertion into hostile territory. It plummeted toward the planet below, burning through the atmosphere with heat that would have cooked most species alive. Humans had learned to handle heat. Earth had taught them. 30 seconds to impact, T said over the squad channel. Remember, gravity is 0.6 here. You'll be faster and stronger than you're used to. Stay focused and don't get cocky. The pod hit the ground hard enough to create a crater. The doors blew open, and the Marines burst out into the Velen morning. They were 3 km from the Kraith base in the middle of what had once been a city. Now it was ruins. Tay assessed their situation in seconds. The base loomed in the distance, a fortress of black metal, bristling with weapons. Between them and it, Kraith patrol units were already responding to their arrival. He could see powered armor, each suit making its wearer twice as tall and far stronger than normal. Against most species, that armor was unstoppable. Against humans in 0.6 gravity, it was too slow. Move out, Tay ordered. Team 1 with me. Team 2 flank right, stay in cover, and pick your shots. The Marines spread out, moving through the ruins with practiced efficiency. When the first Kraith patrol rounded a corner, they found humans who could leap 3 m straight up and sprint faster than their targeting systems could track. The firefight was brief and brutal. Private Jai Wuhan dropped behind a broken wall as plasma bolts seared the air above him. He counted 3 Kraith soldiers, all in heavy armor. In normal gravity, their suits would make them nearly invincible. Here they were lumbering and predictable. He leaned out and fired 3 precise shots. The first took down a Kraith warrior's shield. The second and third found the weak points in the armor that Yuna's analysis had identified. The soldier went down and the others scrambled for cover, shocked by the speed of the attack. This is easier than training on Earth, Jai Wu muttered. Stay focused, Tay's voice crackled in his ear. We're not here to fight, we're here to get those prisoners. The Marine squad pushed forward, engaging Kraith patrols when necessary, avoiding them when possible. They moved like ghosts through the ruins, using the low gravity to their advantage. Every jump was higher, every step was faster. The Kraith, designed for conquest through overwhelming force, had no answer for this kind of speed and mobility. At the base's perimeter, Tay surveyed the defenses, energy shields, automated turrets, and at least 100 Kraith soldiers visible from his position. The prison compound was in the center. Massive structure where the stolen Velans were being held. Dr. Troy, you ready? He asked. Dr. Hannah Troy crouched behind cover with her medical pack, her side arm held in steady hands. She was not a soldier, but Earth had taught all humans to be survivors. Ready, she confirmed. Then let's go get those people. In orbit, the battle raged on. The Indomitable had taken hits, its shields failing in several sections. Alarms blared throughout the ship as damage reports came in. But Han kept his voice calm, kept his orders clear. Una, status on that carrier ship, he asked. It's trying to make a run for the jump point. Una replied, it's loaded with Velan prisoners. If it jumps, we'll never find them. Han made his decision instantly. Pursue. Leave the battle cruisers, sir. They'll have a clear shot at us. I know, do it anyway. The Indomitable broke from the fur ball of combat, burning hard toward the fleeing carrier. Behind them, the Kraith battle cruisers gave chase, sensing victory. Their commander smiled. The human ship was damaged running. Now they had them. But Han was not running. He was positioning. Ben, I need everything you've got, he said quietly. One more push, Captain. The engines, I know what I'm asking. In the engine room, Ben looked at his displays and made a choice. He routed power from life support, from non-essential systems, from everywhere he could find it. The engines screamed in protest. Temperature gauges went from red to white hot. The Indomitable surged forward with acceleration that slammed everyone into their seats. The carrier ship, slow and heavy with its cargo, had no chance. The human vessel came alongside it like a predator, running down prey. Disable it, Han ordered. Precision shots only. I want those prisoners alive. Railgun fired, each shot calculated and controlled. The carrier's engines exploded, leaving the ship dead in space. But intact, its hull remained sealed, its cargo safe. Now, Han said, bring us about. The Indomitable spun, a maneuver that should have torn the ship apart. Pursuing Kreth battle cruisers were right where Han wanted them, grouped together, their formation tight. Fire everything, he said. Every weapon on the human ship fired at once. Missiles, rail guns, point defense, lasers, all focused on the lead battle cruiser. The concentrated firepower overwhelmed the shields and tore into the hull. Secondary explosions ripped through the massive ship. On the bridge of the flagship, the Kreth admiral watched his vessel die around him. In his last moments, he finally understood. These were not just another species. These were Deathworlders, forged in the fires of a world that never stopped trying to kill them. They were stronger, faster, tougher, and more determined than anything the galaxy had produced. The flagship exploded, taking 2 frigates with it in the blast. On the planet below, T's team had breached the prison compound. They moved through corridors designed for beings larger than themselves, clearing rooms with brutal efficiency. Corporal Yunsoy took a plasma bolt to the shoulder, her armor absorbing most of the impact. She kept fighting. They found the Velans in large holding cells, thousands of them crammed together in terrible conditions. When the Marines opened the doors, the prisoners cowered, terrified of these giants in armor. T removed his helmet, revealing his face. We're here to help, he said in careful galactic standard. We're taking you home. A young Velen, braver than the rest, stepped forward. "You're human," it said in wonder. "The kind giants from the stories." The news spread across the galaxy at faster than light speed. In the Galactic Council chambers, a massive space station orbiting a neutral star, representatives from 200 species gathered in emergency session. The circular room hummed with conversation in a dozen languages. Holographic displays showed the same footage over and over: the burning wreckage of Kreth ships, the human vessel moving through space like nothing they had ever seen, and most shocking of all, the freed Velen prisoners embracing their human rescuers. Ambassador Murai Shin stood in Earth's delegation box, her hands folded calmly. As she watched the chaos unfold, she was young for an ambassador, only 35. But she had been chosen specifically for this role. Earth needed someone who could navigate the complex politics of the galactic community. Someone who understood that humans scared most species simply by existing. Order, the council speaker, a tall being from the aquatic Nessic species, called out. "We will have order." The room gradually quieted, the speaker's gills fluttered with agitation as they addressed the assembly. "The matter before us is grave." The human ship Indomitable engaged in military action without council approval. They attacked the Kreth Dominion, a recognized power, and destroyed multiple vessels. This is a clear violation of. They saved 200,000 innocent lives. Murai interrupted, her voice cutting through the chamber. "Or do we not care about that?" The speaker turned toward her, eyes wide. "Ambassador Shin, you are out of order." "No," Murai said, stepping forward to the speaker's platform. "We are all out of order." The Velen sent out a distress call. They begged for help while the Kreth enslaved their entire population. This council debated and did nothing. "How many days did you spend arguing while people died?" A delegate from the Thorian species, insectoid beings similar to the Velen, stood up. "Humans are dangerous. They come from a death world. Their very biology is a threat to galactic peace." "Really?" Murai's voice was cold now. "Because from where I stand, the only threat to galactic peace was the Kreth, who were actively enslaving and murdering innocents. One human ship stopped them when 200 of your species couldn't make a decision." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Some delegates looked uncomfortable. Others looked afraid. "The human capacity for violence is well documented," another delegate said. "What happens when Earth decides to use that capacity for conquest instead of rescue?" Murai smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Do you know what makes humans different? We choose. Yes, we come from a world that tried to kill us every single day. Yes, we evolved to be survivors, to be fighters, but we also evolved to be more than that. We have art, music, philosophy. We have compassion. Earth didn't just teach us how to fight, it taught us why to fight." In the medical bay of the Indomitable, Dr. Hana Choi worked on Corporal Yun's injuries. The plasma burn had been severe, but Yun would recover. The corporal's eyes followed Hana as she worked, grateful but curious. "Doctor," Yun said quietly, "when you were down there treating those Velens in the prison, weren't you scared?" Hana paused, thinking about the question. "Terrified," she admitted, "but those people needed help. Sometimes being scared doesn't matter." Through the medical bay's window, they could see the planet below. The Velens were celebrating in their cities there. Families reunited. Elder Thasic had invited Captain Han to a formal ceremony, but Han had declined. Politely. He never liked ceremonies. Instead, he stood in the ship's observation deck with Sergeant Tay. The sergeant's arm was in a sling, broken during the base assault, but he had refused to let Hana sedate him for the healing process. He wanted to see the planet they had saved. Command is going to have our heads for this, Tay said with a slight smile. Probably. Han agreed, worth it though. Yeah, it was. They watched in silence as a small shuttle approached the Indomitable. It carried Elder Thesic and a delegation of Velans who wanted to thank the crew personally. Han had agreed to this, though he felt uncomfortable with gratitude. They had done what anyone should do. When the Velans came aboard, they moved slowly through the corridors there, large eyes taking in everything. The ship's gravity was set to Earth standard, and they struggled with every step. It reminded the humans just how different they were. To these gentle people, simply walking on a human ship was like climbing a mountain. Elder Thesic met Han in the conference room. The old Velan bowed deeply, a gesture of profound respect in their culture. Captain Han de Jin, you and your crew have done what we thought impossible. You have given us back our future. You don't need to thank us, Han said. Quietly, we did what was right. But that is exactly why we must thank you, Thesic replied. In a galaxy where doing right is rare, it must be acknowledged. The elder paused, mandibles clicking in what might have been concern. I have heard reports from the council. They are frightened of you, of all humans. I know they do not understand. They see only your strength, your capacity for violence. They do not see your hearts. Thesic pulled out a data chip. I have prepared testimony for the council. I will tell them what I saw. I will tell them about Dr. Choi treating our wounded with hands so gentle we forgot she could crush us. I will tell them about Sergeant Tay removing his helmet to comfort our children. I will tell them about Engineer Bin sharing his rations with our refugees when he thought no one was watching. Han felt something tighten in his throat. Thank you, Elder. No, Captain, thank you. On the council station, the debate continued. More species had joined the discussion, including several who had their own grievances with the Kreth. The Thonar, a species known for their beautiful crystalline bodies and their music, sent a representative. The Kreth have enslaved our people for 2 generations, the Thonar delegate said, their voice like chimes. The council has done nothing. If the humans had not acted, the Velans would have suffered the same fate. How many more species must beg for help before we realize our own cowardice? This is not about cowardice, the speaker insisted. This is about maintaining order. About the chamber doors opened. Elder Thesic entered, moving slowly. The station's gravity. Behind him came a child, the same young Velan who had given Dr. Hana the crystal. They made their way to the speaker's platform. I am Elder Thesic of Velan Prime, the old one said. I speak for my people. 3 weeks ago, the Kreth came to our world. They killed our protectors, burned our cities, and took our children. We called for help. This council debated. The humans answered. The child stepped forward, holding up a small holographic projector. Images filled the chamber. Hana treating the wounded, T carrying a Velan child to safety through enemy Fire Marines sharing their water with. Thirsty prisoners, Jiwoo laughing with a group of rescued Velans while teaching them a simple Earth song. These are your monsters, Thezek said. Softly, these are your Deathworlders. They came to a world not their own and fought for people they had never met. They asked for nothing in return. 3 of them died saving us, tell me honored. Delegates, when was the last time any of you risked anything for strangers? The chamber fell silent. Days later, the Galactic Council voted. It was close, but the decision was made. Earth would not be sanctioned for their actions. More than that, humanity was formally invited to join the Council as full members. But something else happened. Something the Council had not anticipated. Other species, those who under oppression and had lost hope, began sending messages to Earth. The Thanar, enslaved by the Krath for generations, asked if humans could help them too. The aquatic Nessic, whose oceans were being drained by pirates, sent a desperate plea. A dozen more followed. Admiral Hyan T. Young, commander of Earth Space Forces, stood in the United Earth government chambers and addressed the assembly. The question before us is simple, he said. Do we help them? The debate was fierce. Some argued that Earth should focus on its own interests, that getting involved in galactic conflicts would drain resources and cost lives. Others argued that with power came responsibility. In the end, the vote passed by a narrow margin. Earth would help, but they would do it properly. Captain Han Dejin was promoted to Commodore and given command of not one ship but 5. The Vanguard Initiative was born, a fleet dedicated to protecting those who could not protect themselves. Volunteers flooded in from every branch of Earth's military. Everyone wanted to be part of something that mattered. Sergeant Tay, his arm healed, was promoted to lieutenant and given command of the Marine contingent. Yuna received her own ship, the UES Defiant, a newer vessel built for speed and combat. Dr. Hana was appointed chief medical officer of the fleet, with Dr. assistants to help manage casualties. Engineer Bin became fleet technical director, responsible for keeping all 5 ships running. On the day they departed Earth orbit, thousands gathered to watch. The ships rose into the sky, their hulls gleaming in the sunlight. They were going to war, but not for conquest. They were going to answer the calls that others ignored. Myri, still serving as Earth's ambassador, watched from the Council station. She had received a personal message from Captain Han before the fleet departed. It was simple. Thank you for giving us the chance to do this right. In the observation deck of his new flagship, Han stood with his senior staff. Before them, the Thanar homeworld was dying when the Vanguard Initiative arrived. Commodore Han Dejin watched through the view screen as the situation unfolded. Before him, the planet below was beautiful. Its surface covered in crystalline structures that caught the light of its sun and reflected it in 1,000 colors. The Thanar built their cities to sing with the wind, creating music that could be heard from orbit. Now those cities burned, reading 200 Wraith vessels. Lieutenant Yuna Kim reported from the Defiant. Her voice came through the comm channel, clear and calm, though Han could hear the tension beneath it. They've already begun orbital bombardment. 3 major cities are gone. Life signs, Han asked, scanning now. Detecting approximately 50 million Thon. Are still alive on the surface. They're gathering in shelters deep. Underground, but the Wraith are digging them out systematically. Han felt his jaw tighten. 50 million. A number so large it was hard to comprehend, but each one was a person with a life, a family, dreams. The Wraith were exterminating them like insects. All ships, this is the Commodore, Han said, his voice carrying to all 5 vessels of the fleet. I won't lie to you. This is the worst odds we've faced, 200 ships against our 5, by any reasonable standard. This is suicide. He paused, looking around his bridge at the crew he had come to know so well. Over the past months, they looked back at him without fear. They knew what they had signed up for. But we didn't come all this way to turn back now. Those people down there are counting on us. They've been enslaved for 2 generations. And they sent us one message. Not a demand. Not an ultimatum. Just a simple request, please help. So, that's what we're going to do. Across the fleet in 5 different ships. Crews prepared for battle. Marines checked their equipment. Engineers pushed systems to their limits. Medical teams prepared for casualties. And every single person knew they might not survive the day. On the Defiant, Captain Yuna studied the tactical display with intense focus. 200 ships. The Kreth had brought their entire fleet for this assault, determined to crush the Thanar once and for all. They were arranged in a standard formation, overwhelming and powerful. But formations were patterns, and patterns could be exploited. Commodore, Yuna said over the command channel, I have a plan. It's crazy, but it might work. At this point, crazy is all we have, Han replied. Let's hear it. Yuna explained quickly and efficiently. The Kreth fleet was large but slow. They expected to win through sheer force. What they did not expect was speed, creativity, and the kind of reckless courage that only humans from a death world possessed. It could work, Han said when she finished. It also could get us all killed. That was already likely, Yuna pointed out. Han smiled grimly. Fair enough, all ships prepare to execute Captain Kim's plan, and may whatever gods are listening watch over us. The 5 human ships dove toward the Kreth fleet like missiles, moving at speeds that made the alien sensors struggle to track them. The Kreth opened fire, filling space with plasma and missiles. The human vessels scattered, each one breaking in a different direction. The Kreth admiral, confident in his numerical superiority, ordered his fleet to split up and engage the smaller human force. It was exactly what Yuna had predicted. The massive formation broke apart, ships spreading out to chase their targets. And that's when the humans struck. The Defiant led Team 1 in a devastating run through the Kreth left flank. Yuna's targeting was surgical precise. Every shot counted. Railgun rounds tore through shields and hulls. Missiles found weak points in armor. 3 Kreth destroyers exploded before they realized they were under coordinated attack. On the other side of the battle, Han's ship led Team 2 in a similar assault. The human vessels moved in perfect coordination, like a school of predators hunting prey. They exploited every advantage their Deathworld heritage gave them. Faster reflexes, higher acceleration, tolerance, and the ability to make Decisions in split seconds that would take other species minutes. But even with all their advantages, the odds were crushing. For every Kraith ship the humans destroyed, 3 more moved in to take its place. Shields at 40%, the tactical officer reported on Han's bridge. Armor breach on deck 7, keep firing. Han ordered, we just need to buy the ground team time on the planet. Below, Lieutenant Tiwu Sung led the largest marine deployment the Vanguard initiative had ever attempted. 500 human soldiers dropped in 20 locations across the planet. Their mission was simple but nearly impossible. Reach the Thonar's shelters before the Kraith ground forces did. T's boots hit the ground in what had once been a beautiful city. Now it was rubble and ash. The Thonar's crystalline architecture lay shattered, reflecting nothing but destruction. Around him, his squad spread out with practiced efficiency. The gravity here was even lighter than the Velen world, barely 0.4 of Earth standard. The Marines moved like they were flying, leaping over obstacles, covering ground at impossible speeds. The Kraith troops trying to stop them found their weapons tracking empty air. These humans were too fast, too unpredictable. Contact 300M. Private Jai Wuhan called out. He had become one of the squad's best scouts, his young eyes sharp and his instincts honed by months of combat. Kraith mechanized units, 6 vehicles. Take them down, Tay ordered. The Marines deployed anti-armor weapons, firing from cover before the Kraith could respond. The vehicles exploded in rapid succession. The Kraith infantry dismounted, scrambling for cover, but the humans were already moving to new positions, deep underground in a shelter that had been built generations ago. The Thonar huddled together in terror. Their crystalline bodies chimed softly, with fear creating a sound like breaking glass. They had heard the explosions above, felt the earth shake as the Kraith dug closer. Then new sounds came. Different explosions, closer but somehow less threatening. And then voices speaking in galactic standard with strange accents. Anyone down here? A voice called. We're here to help. The shelter's elder, an ancient Thonar, whose crystals had dulled with age, approached the entrance cautiously. Humans stood there, smaller than the elder had expected, but somehow more frightening for it. The human had removed its helmet, revealing a face marked with dirt and sweat. I'm Lieutenant Tay of Earth's Vanguard Initiative, the human said gently. We received your message. We're going to get you out of here. You came, the elder whispered, its voice like wind through glass. The humans actually came. We did. T confirmed. Now please gather your people. We don't have much time. Across the planet, similar scenes played out. Human Marines reached shelter after shelter, evacuating civilians under heavy fire. Dr. Hana Choi worked in field hospitals, set up in secure zones treating wounded Thonar with the same careful gentleness she had shown the Velans. The Thonar's crystalline biology was unlike anything she had studied, but she adapted, improvised, and saved lives. In orbit, the space battle had become a desperate struggle. The human fleet had destroyed 40 Kraith vessels, but they were taking heavy damage in return. Han's flagship had lost shields entirely. The Defiant was venting atmosphere from 3 decks. 2 of the other ships were barely functional. Commodore Engineer Ben Park's voice came over the comm, strained with exhaustion. I need to shut down the port engine. It's going to explode if we don't. How long can we fight on one engine? Han asked. Maybe 10 minutes, maybe less. Han looked at the tactical display. There were still over 150 Kraith ships active. 10 minutes was not enough time. They needed more. Captain Kim, he said over the command channel. How are the evacuation shuttles doing? Yuna checked her displays. Last transport just left the surface. All civilians are away. The Thanar are safe. Han felt something loosen in his chest. The mission was complete. The Thanar were saved. Everything else was just details. All ships, he said quietly. You've done humanity proud today. You've shown the galaxy what we're capable of when we choose to be better than our violent origins. The civilians are safe. Now we just need to survive. That's when Engineer Ben spoke up again. His voice thoughtful. Commodore, I have an idea. It's insane. But then again, what we're doing is already insane. I'm listening. Ben explained his plan. It involved every ship linking their power cores together, creating a cascade reaction that would overload the Kraith fleet sensors and scramble their targeting systems. It would leave the human ships dead in space for several minutes, defenseless. But it might buy them enough time to escape. There's one problem, Ben said. Someone needs to stay behind to trigger the cascade. It's a manual process. Whoever does it won't make it out. Silence fell across the command channel. Han understood immediately. Someone would have to sacrifice themselves. I'll do it, Yuna said without hesitation. No, Han replied firmly. I won't. With respect, Commodore, you're the fleet commander. The Vanguard Initiative needs you. I'm just a ship captain. Let me do this. Yuna, please, sir, let me save my crew. Han wanted to refuse. Every instinct screamed against it, but he knew she was right. Sometimes leadership meant accepting terrible choices. Understood, Captain Kim. All ships will jump to safety on your signal. On the Defiance bridge, Yuna began the process. She ordered her crew to evacuate to get to the escape pods. Most of them refused.